Well, joining us is human rights lawyer Justice Uhuegbu. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning.
I'm sure yesterday must have been a very interesting day for you. But then, talk to us what you make of the judgment yesterday.
Well, when you say interesting, why should it be so interesting to me?
Looking at what the activities leading up to the inauguration that should have taken place.
Yeah, the truth is that is another. How do I put it? Another issue on our judicial system also. And that is to tell you, like I was telling some people yesterday, that if the judiciary is actually allowed to do their job without fear or favor, Nigeria will get better.
Really?
Yes. So we should look at it very well and look at it that the judiciary is always the last hope of the common man. And this is part of the things we are saying in law.
Absolutely. We'll come to that being the last hope of the common man, but let's get down to the issues now. The Supreme Court has said that it is the person with the second highest votes and geographical spread that will be sworn in. How do you interpret this judgment? Yeah,
definitely. If you look at it, the law is very simple. The person with the highest number of votes is declared winner in any election. And once there is a fallout of that, the second person takes over. So you see, I believe that the Supreme Court didn't want to lock itself with political names and all the rest by saying maybe the PDP candidate should be sworn in. But who is the second person?
But wouldn't that have made things clearer?
No. They don't need to go to that.
Because if you look closely at the results, it is said that no other person met up with the requirements.
It's not true. Look,
how is that not true?
Forget what the INEC chairman is saying. The APC chairman is saying, Oshomole. You remember that Bayelsa state we're talking about, it happens to even be a PDP state. And all the rest.
But the people's vote was what mattered.
Yes. What was the ratio? What was the difference between the APC and the PDP? No, let's look at it very well. But we should not concern us. You see, when you look at this, INEC themselves knows what the Supreme Court talks about. INEC is the only body that has the responsibility or power to say, yes, this person is the second in line, and by that we are now going to issue him a certificate of return, and not the chairman of APC. He has no such right to interpret such judgment.
He has no such right?
No, he's not even a lawyer. Does he even know what is geographical spread?
Why wouldn't he know?
If he knows, he should have...
He's been in politics for a long time now.
He should have told Nigerians why he made such comments. You see, you don't just come out and make political comments because something has gone, against you. And I love this thing that happened. Let it be a lesson to all the political parties. Because as far as I'm concerned, the APC shot themselves on the leg.
How?
Really? Yes.
How?
Remember, this is a pre-election matter.
Absolutely.
As at November 12th or thereabout, a federal high court in Abuja has disqualified the deputy governor of APC, run under the platform of APC, because of this same issue of forgery. But the party insisted and feeded him as a candidate.
But another court upheld the judgment. Where between Heineken Lokobiri and...
We are saying the same thing.
Yeah.
The Federal High Court disqualified him. The Appeal Court upturned it. These people now went to the third floor, which is the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court now upheld the decision of the Federal High Court. What we are saying here, let people not be confused here. Like some people have argued, why must his disqualification affect the governor?
Absolutely, that's another issue.
They run on one ticket.
So if he was sworn in today and the judgment came up in 2 days or 2 days after, will this be the same situation?
It's the same thing. Remember, let me refresh our memory. Pre-election matters are different from election matters. Example, Rotimi Amechi became a governor as a result of pre-election matter. It was Celestine Omehia that contested under PDP and won. But the issue is that before the election, Rotimi Amechi has gone to court challenging the candidature of Celestine Omehia. Fortunately or unfortunately, election had been conducted. Omehia had been sworn in as a governor before the Supreme Court gave the judgment that no, that Chubike Rotimi Amechi was the authentic candidate for PDP for Rivers State then. That was how Amechi became governor.
So
the same thing played in Imo State, you remember? During the time of Ugu and the Ararume against INEC. But Imo State was lucky, or we are lucky, because the Supreme Court judgment came before the election, nullifying the candidature of Rokana Ugu. And that made the then president of Olusegun Obasanjo then to come to Imo State himself and declare that because of the Supreme Court judgment, PDP in Imo State no longer have a candidate. That was how they started looking for somebody. And that was how, what was his name, former governor Ohakim became governor under PPA, Ikedi Ohakim. So they are two different things. So, but the lesson this should teach us, the impunity that is going on in the party structure. If the party had tried as much as possible to maybe change the deputy then, this thing wouldn't have been like this.
But there are processes, screening processes.
It also, listen, remember what happened in Kogi?
That's where I was going to go to.
What happened in Kogi when the then governor-elect died immediately after the election?
Yes. Was it because it's not a pre-election matter that James Falike was not allowed to take up the position?
Yeah, it was not a pre-election matter. This person had won the election before that incident. But the party thought it wise. Well, we want to present another candidate. It becomes a party affair. Whether to feed the deputy or to look for another person to represent them. Because if you're running under the ticket of a party.
Absolutely.
The party sponsors you. The party must allow you to run. So that is exactly the same thing that has played here now. So if not for the impunity that exists in the party structure, this kind of thing would not happen. Because if a court has already disqualified him, why do you insist that he must be the person? I believe that they never saw this coming.
Of course, it seems that a lot of people didn't see this coming in the first place. But then another issue that has sprung up is the fact that the courts are now beginning to determine issues when it comes to electoral matters. Now that the votes, the voters no longer count, and it's raising a lot of concern. Yes, the sanctity of the ballot box is being threatened.
It's a concern, actually. But you now ask yourself a question. Where did you get the disconnect? One, the people do not trust the electoral system. The electoral umpire, the people do not trust them. Secondly,
is that the challenge?
Yes, that is one of the major challenges here. Because when you allow the courts to now begin to determine what happens in an election issues, that is a problem. Because the people's will is support. Because when we talk about democracy, we said it's the government of the people, in simple definition, by the people and for the people. Now, when you begin to allow the law and technicalities to take each course and you begin to impose candidates on people, which means we're no longer applying to that definition again. So, what is the problem there? Who is to be blamed? One, the political parties. That is the impunity, which means there's no internal democracy in the political parties. Secondly, the electoral umpire, that is the INEC. There must be, in fact, let me tell you, why can't we come up, look at, for a retired Justice West's report or recommendation on electoral reform. Why can't elections?
We'll talk more on this, Justice Uwegbu. We need to move on quickly now because of want of time. Thank you for speaking with us so far. Well, joining us is human rights lawyer Justice Uwegbu. Also joining us is CEO CKN News, Chris Kende Wandu. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
It's nice to be here.
Thank you, Justice.
Happy birthday.
Even though you are not done already, but then happy Valentine's Day. Now let's look at Bayelsa State and what is going on, the judgment. For you, CKN, let me start with you. Are there implications to this judgment? What do you see happening today? Because like we have been talking, there was supposed to be an inauguration today before the Supreme Court judgment came. And one wonders, how do we move from here?
Well, first and foremost, we have to wait on INEC to make a pronouncement. Good enough, according to reports, they've acknowledged receiving the the judgment of the Supreme Court, and from all indication they'll meet on it. Within the next few hours, they will come out with a pronouncement on what's going to happen. But be that as it may be, definitely today, Bayelsa will have a governor. There's not going to be a vacuum. In as much as the governor, the present governor, his term lapses today. So definitely by the end of today, there'll be a governor in Bayelsa State. Who that is, I don't know. But if by the pronouncement of the Supreme Court, if you look at it properly, it says that it's assumed by that judgment that APC did not participate in the election. That is the implication. And what that may be, if you look at what has happened in Zamfara before, it will likely also means that every vote that was given to APC has been voided.
Yes.
So what is remaining now, the votes in terms of geographical spread, it might not be, when you cannot calculate it, it will not be within the ambit of the other party that participated, and that is what you might use, they may use to determine the do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yes, geographical spread, not based on the former election. So if the vote of APC has been discounted, so whatever remaining within those votes will not be used to determine the bet. As I said, it's left for INEC to be able to come out with a pronouncement on that. But definitely, whether that will, as the APC chairman said, that there will be no government. That position
cannot be vacant.
It can't be vacant.
Okay. So let me go to justice now. Looking at all of this now, the issue of electoral reforms is coming to mind. Where should they start from? Is it from the political parties or from INEC? Where?
Well, you know that the INEC law actually empowers INEC to have oversight function over the political parties. And I know that one of the purposes is just to make sure that political parties actually comply with the rules and laws. And especially when you now talk about moral values and all the regs. These are part of the things INEC is supposed to guide against, so that there will be unnecessary, there will not be any need for necessary litigations and all the rest. Like we said earlier, why is it now that the courts are not determining who becomes what after the people have suffered to go to the pool and do one thing or the other? It's because of the impunity that exists within the political parties. Like I said before, there's no internal democracy in the political parties as far as we speak today. Now, if you look at it so much, I keep on saying, why not we revisit the Mohammed Wake's recommendation on electoral reforms and look at what we can deduct from there and set up other ones to augment it. But because of selfishness and political interest, these people will not agree. Look at what the chairman, national chairman of APC is saying, as if he's the God. You don't do things like this. Supreme Court has given several judgments. Did he talk like this when they gave government?
Looking at the Uwais reports now, how will that aid
the reforms
we're talking about?
If you've been opportune to look at that report, there are a lot of suggestions there that will take care of some of these things. For example, me for one, we can dispense with pre-election matters before election.
Okay.
We can do it. Dispense with pre-election. If you can start on time about nomination of candidates, make sure you finish everything, litigations and everything about nomination of candidates. Some of these things will stop.
All right, let's come to CKN now. There has been concerns that the judiciary seems to be doing more of determining who becomes what, like he mentioned, and that the sanctity of the ballot box is being threatened. And so citizens are now saying that the judiciary should not be the ultimate electoral umpire.
That's what it should be. But don't also forget that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. Okay? Instead of resorting to anarchy, violence, and the rest of them.
Because of the controversies we have seen in recent times, is it still the last hope of the common man?
Yes, it is. Because at the end of it, what would have happened? If at the end of it, most of the candidates didn't go to court, and they now decide to resort to self-help, that in itself is a problem on its own. We have serious security challenges facing us presently. The worst we can do again is to bring electoral and political thuggery and assassination and killings and the rest of them into our politics again. So, but the fact is that if the political parties have been doing what they ought to do, And if the umpire, INEC, has also been up and doing in its art, then we wouldn't have gotten to this point. Because at the end of it all, if during the primaries, the political parties and candidates have restricted themselves to the constitution, to their constitution, the constitution establishing the political parties. At the end of it all, election is like a football game.
Absolutely.
You must win, and
someone
win,
must lose.
But when you see Barca playing Real Madrid, and you see them playing by the rules, then there'll be no problem. But when you see somebody scoring an offside goal and stuff, that's when you see spectators, and you understand what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
So if we'll be able to, if they can,
All
the political parties can be able to adhere to the tenets of their constitution, then we'll have less litigation as it we have.
All right. CKN, thank you for speaking with
Thank you
us.
very much for having
Justice Uhegbu, thank you for speaking with us as well.
Thank you.
Well, joining us is human rights lawyer Justice Uhegbu. Of course, the CEO of CKN News, Chris Kendowandu, joins us also. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
All right, so looking at all of this now, how do we ensure electoral reforms? Earlier you mentioned that Justice awaits reports on electoral reforms now. So what can we take from it to ensure that our electoral system is stronger?
Well, apart from the Justice West's recommendation, with the fallout of what has happened in recent times, especially from 2015 till date, I think by now, if we want to be proactive and tell ourselves the truth, we ought to deduct the problems with the electoral system and begin to do something to correct it. Let me say this. Professor Rusiu, one of our legal jurists, said that the law is to harmonize with the society. That is, as the society grows, the law grows alongside with the society. We shouldn't be stagnant. Lord Denny, in one of his judgments in the case of Parker versus Parker, said that until we start doing what we have not done before, we will remain standstill while the rest of the world moves on. We can't continue this way. A lot of issues, a lot of problems. And most of these problems emanate from the conduct of INEC. Now you ask yourself a question, and a very big question, $1 million question, is INEC actually independent in Nigeria?
That's the question a lot of
And
people
the answer
have
is
been asking.
no.
And that is why, are you saying that
Yeah,
is why
what
the
one
court
of
is taking its
yes,
place
and
now?
that is the reason why we're seeing some of these things. And one of the things I would personally recommend, the president should stop appointing the INEC chairman. QED.
Is that what will bring about the reforms?
One of it, because we are still playing the mantra of it. Who pays the piper dictates the tone.
So the president has not paid.
That can be a categorical statement. Let's get CKN's point of view to this now. Is this, like he has said, I need you to react to that INEC may not be as independent as the name implies, that it is a policy of he who pays the piper dictating the tune. Is that what it is?
Well, it's the Nigerian system, it's the Nigerian problem. It's not just that of INEC, it's in every facet of our life, in everything we do. How independent is INEC is for anybody that watches the political scene to understand. And it's not just starting from now, it started right from 1999. It's nothing new. So, but I still believe that irrespective of whoever you put there, the pressure, once that pressure from politician comes, whoever is the chairman of INEC is a human being. There's a possibility that will cave in. But that is not even my problem. My problem is, first and foremost, how do candidates emerge? That is
Very
where
important.
very key. If we're able to get that hurdle, where we don't look at imposition, where people don't come up, call himself a godfather, now impose a candidate or the people on the party. That is where the problem starts from. When you start getting to that is where you see problem. Now you see people decamping, those that are not able to get the tickets and
move to other parties,
and that is where the problem starts. If we can be able to make sure that we'll be able to get to that point to where we can now say that whoever emerges, we have the support of everybody. And that is, look at what is already happening. Look at what is happening. Edo election is coming.
Yeah.
Look at what is happening in Edo already. There's going to be a problem in Edo. And it's the same party. We're not even talking of opposition parties. Within the same party. So what I'm saying in essence is that we should be able to look at our electoral system where we can be able to say that the emergence of candidates, if people emerge in a more credible. It reduced all this problem we have by close to about 80%.
Now, from what you have said, it begins with the party itself.
It begins with the party.
So what would it take to begin the reforms from within the party, seeing that most, like you pointed out, in Edo State, elections are coming and we are seeing one thing or the other. Do you think that the political parties we have now have that spirit, that willingness to actually ensure the reforms?
No, because our party presently is too individualistic. Our parties are based on individuals, godfathers,
not
and not just ideology any longer. And that brings a lot of problem. Then there's no party discipline, because once you become a member of a particular political party, you are signed up to whatever that party says. But as a human being, even within your homes, even within the family sector, when you tell your kids, do this, there's certain things you tell your kids, and the kid will just, Dad, mommy, I won't do it now. No, now, you say, no. Do you understand what I'm saying? That is what is happening. So everybody must be carried along so that they have a sense of belonging. Once they have that sense of belonging, then we move forward. That's the issue.
Okay, so in all of this that we have said now, there is an issue. People come out as candidates, and when it's election, people win, people lose. But we see that the losing party goes to court. How do we move from going to the court to ensuring that votes count? And once the votes are out, the winner is declared, every other person shake hands and we move forward.
You see, let us also fix reality now. Simpliciter, which has always been my word, we will not get it right if we do not do the right thing. Look at it holistically. Without laws, human beings are the worst animal. And the law, in its wisdom, knew why he gave that law power to INEC to oversee or play oversight functions on political party. Remember, before any candidate emerges, the INEC must be present during primaries. You see why I'm hammering on INEC? So most times, INEC also from the time of primaries will compromise the officials, a preferred candidate. That is where the whole problem lies. Now, if you look at it that way, when the law has stated, do this, and you want to do it your own way to favor one person or the other, it will not work. And now, look at the fallout of what we're having today. If we can have a system where every pre-election matter will be determined before the election proper, some of these problems will go.
What about making the votes count, the people's votes?
Making the votes count, that's what we are saying. If, for example, people go out and vote, and again, what you should understand is that people do not trust the system.
Because of all of these issues that
we need to strengthen the system. Let me tell you, if the systems are working, or if the system is working, if the institution is working, you don't need me to be INEC chairman for it to work. You must leverage on what you met on ground. People will vote and go home. Why people will vote and they want to remain at polling booths to see the results? It's because they don't trust the institution.
Wow. All right, let's leave it.
So we must live above board. The people you are appointing as INEC chairman, and that's why I said it starts with that. When you appoint people that know that they are you are chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission, you're chairman of PDP or APC. It didn't start with APC. It has always been a problem. And that's why we're saying, for example, in the National Assembly, in the Senate, in the Green Chamber, there are so many political parties. If you feel you're qualified, apply. Let them screen you.
Okay. Justice Uhuegbu, let's leave it here now. Thank you for speaking with us. Chris Kainde Nwadu, thank you for also speaking with us.